NBC's Lee Cowan is outside the LA County Coroner's Office with the very latest. Lee, good morning to you.
Well, good morning to you, Meredith. As you might imagine, this all moved very, very quickly yesterday. It was a very short drive from the home that Michael Jackson was renting near Beverly Hills to UCLA's medical center, but it appeared it was already too late. He was already in cardiac arrest when the paramedics arrived there, and before they took him on the way to the hospital. As you say, the autopsy will be performed here at the LA County Coroner's Office later on today to determine exactly what led to the pop star's untimely death. The race to save the King of Pop was a valiant one. Pictures show the paramedics' frantic efforts during that 6-minute drive to UCLA's medical center. And once Michael Jackson arrived, his brother Jermaine says no one gave up.
A team of doctors, including emergency physicians and cardiologists, attempted to resuscitate him for a period of more than 1 hour, and they were unsuccessful.
Jackson's attorney was there with the family and could barely put their reaction into words.
Went up to him, we hugged, we cried. We couldn't even speak to one another.
Jackson's body was choppered from UCLA to USC and then was unceremoniously loaded into a van and driven to the LA County Coroner's Office. The LAPD said it assigned its robbery and homicide division to investigate, but cautioned there was no hint of any wrongdoing.
Robbery homicide was assigned to this because of the high-profile nature of it. Don't read into anything as it relates to my team being here.
As the news spread, fans spontaneously joined together, many outside the Jackson family home in Encino, California. These dancers were set to rehearse with Jackson Thursday, but learned of his death instead.
He's such the best entertainer that I know, and because of him I came to America.
The sidewalk outside the hospital quickly became a memorial too, a strange mix of grieving for a loss and celebrating a unique brand of music. At the Apollo Theater, where Jackson first performed with his brothers back in 1969, fans poured into the streets. The Reverend Al Sharpton gave an impromptu eulogy, remembering a talented life, but an equally controversial one.
He talked about how many people had let him down, but I told him it didn't matter. He had never let the fans down.
Jackson had rehearsed only Wednesday at the Staples Center in downtown LA. He was preparing for a strenuous 50-concert tour in London next month. Some questioned his physical readiness for such an endeavor, and there had been rumors that his addiction to prescription drugs had returned. But for those who hadn't seen the reclusive Jackson in a while, when he announced his comeback back in March, many said he looked healthier than he'd been in a long time.
This is it. This is really it. This is the fight. This is the final curtain call.
But he never got the chance to take that final bow. Now again, the autopsy on Michael Jackson's body expected to be performed later on today. It's expected to also include a toxicology study, Meredith, so it could be some time before we know for sure.
Most people knew him as a pop icon, a superstar, a musician, even sometimes a curiosity. But to Brian Michael Stoller, Michael Jackson was something much simpler. He was a good friend. He is here along with Jackson family friend Brian Oxman, who was with the Jacksons at the hospital as they learned of Michael's death. Brian and Brian, good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Mary.
Brian Oxman, if I can start with you. As I just said, you were at the hospital with members of the Jackson family when you got the news that Michael had passed away. And I got the sense, talking to you in the break, that it hasn't really sunk in yet.
It really hasn't sunk in, Meredith. And I'm just remembering that helicopter that I think everyone saw arrive. I was walking by the edge of the building and that helicopter flew over and I got caught in the prop wash. And I think that was the moment that it really hit me that Michael Jackson was not with us. And it was chilling. It was absolutely chilling that this force was gone, and now I was being struck by the helicopter's wash where he was being taken away.
Yeah, taken away to the coroner's office where they will determine the cause of death. They don't know that at this point. But Brian, you saw him about a month and a half ago, and you were worried at that point about his health. Why?
Yeah, he looked emaciated. I mean, he looked, I'd never seen him that thin and that weak, and he was just very frail, and he gave me a hug, and I felt his bones. I mean, you know, his backbones and his shoulder bones, and it was
Did
just
you
it was
express
scary.
your concern to him? Did you?
You know, I really didn't, because I didn't feel it was the time to do it. I think I think that he knew, and it's just I didn't want to rub it in. You know, you didn't want to, you know, say hello and say, hey, you're not looking so good.
Yeah,
you know.
I know that he was in pain. I know that he had been on painkillers. You talked about it. I know you've been very concerned about that, Brian, and outspoken about it. Again, we don't know the cause of death. I don't want to suggest anything, but you felt that he was over-medicated.
He broke his leg when he fell from a stage several years ago. He fractured the vertebrae in his back. These things hurt him. It was the reason why he took these medications. And I think that anyone who is in that condition has a tough time gauging and measuring how much is too much. And it was my concern that he was doing too much. And I feared this day, and here we are facing it.
Did you express that to other people? Do you feel like others ignored that?
All the family members have talked about it. Talked about it with Randy. I talked with Latoya, with Jermaine, with Mrs. Jackson. So it was a concern that we all shared, but everyone said no, Michael is okay, that he's under proper care, and I simply gave the warning that I thought that it was too much.
You know, you're both friends, were friends of Michael's. We've been talking so much about the different Michaels that the public knew, the king of pop, that adorable young boy, and then he became something different to a lot of people. He was Wacko Jacko. I'm sorry, I apologize, because this is your friend. Others thought his behavior very eccentric, inappropriate. How did you come to grips with those different Michaels? Did you see those different Michaels?
I think he was misunderstood too. Was he not?
I would absolutely agree with that. I never saw the allegation of being crazy, of being wacko. I saw him as a brilliant performer. I saw that he was unlike anyone in show business. He was the biggest icon. He knew what he was doing. I never saw these things, and I knew him pretty good.
He was eccentric, but he wasn't crazy.
Eccentric.
We've got to go, guys, and I apologize. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today. You lost a dear friend, and we send our condolences. Thank you.